Welcome to the White Knuckling It podcast with Justin Burt
No, we got out of the life with the pre-roll.
and Mitchell O'Brien.
It's in his butt.
They share their experiences from white knuckling sobriety to becoming successful and living life in recovery.
Yeah, boy.
Welcome back to the White Knuckling It podcast. I'm your host, Justin Burt.
And I am Mitchell O'Brien.
We have a special guest in our podcast today. You want to introduce him, Mitch?
This is Jesse.
Hey, what's happening, people?
Not much. How's it going, man?
It's going real good. Real good.
Yeah.
We wanted to have you on the podcast because you have experience in the life of recovery.
That I do.
A lot of years, too, if I remember right.
Yeah. 8 years right now, almost at 9.
Nice.
Congratulations.
That's
Yeah.
more than Justin and I combined.
It's been a journey.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. Grateful though.
Yeah, because you're a Padres fan, so you're
Yes.
originally from California.
Yes. And I was born here.
Oh, really?
Yep. And my mom and I left Michigan when I was 8. And we moved to San Diego, California. And that's where I spent 25 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I spent 25 years on the West Coast before.
How was that?
I mean, it started off real good. You know, as a kid playing baseball, football, hockey. And then I found drugs and alcohol real fast, 13. And the trip is that my mom was in recovery. My mom was 5 years sober
Dang.
when I was in California. So I was 8. Yep. I was 8. Mom was, I can't do the math, but mom was mom, you know. And
Right.
She was in recovery. She was in Alcoholics Anonymous. And so I kind of grew up in Alcoholics Anonymous,
Okay.
which wasn't a bad thing. Mom never pushed, AA on me at 8 years old or 12 years old or, even 15 years old. But I kind of related to the old timers. I liked them. They were pretty cool people, smoking cigarettes, secondhand smoke in front of a kid, some coffee, no big deal. And I related to them, which was kind of weird. I didn't really understand what they were going through, but I was kind of like, yeah, I kind of feel that way sometimes. And then my drugs and alcohol took off, boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, see, when I got introduced to the programs, either A or NA, actually, I liked hanging out with the old timers because I was like, how have they made it this long sober through all life's hurdles?
Yes.
Death, car repossessions, whatever life throws at you.
Yeah.
Because life's filled with a bunch of hurdles that we have to overcome.
Yeah. And come to find out, I'm not good at life on life's terms.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I learned that, I don't want to say early on, but early on in my sobriety, I learned that. I'm just not good at living life on life's terms. But still to this day, I hang out with the old timers. I'm talking 40 plus years of sobriety.
Yeah.
That's who I want to be with. They've been divorced, they've been jobless, they've been broke, they've lost homes, and they still sober. And they're good people, all of them, men and women.
Yeah, my first sponsor was in his 70s,
Nice.
and he had like 25 some years sober. I was like, how'd you do it, man? Like, you lost your wife, you've lost kids. Like, how do you remain sober? And he was just like, I know if I go back, there's nothing good that's going to happen from it. And like, that's a hard pill to swallow, especially in early recovery, because we think all of our problems are going to be fixed just by going back out. You know, like that's the easy way out, you know, just numb the feelings and numb everything. But it's not really the easy way because we just create more heartache and more pain on ourselves.
Yep. And, you know, it's kind of like our problems are still there, even if we're sober or not sober.
Right.
That was the bitch for me. I'm like, so I get clean, start doing what I'm supposed to be doing, start listening to some advice, but all my problems are still there. Or I continue to drink and drug, my problems are all still there.
But as Cat Williams likes to say, we get the buckets real easy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I've been waiting to burn them motherfucking candles. Shut off that power.
Yep. Yeah, and that's weird. My sponsor knew what the fuck it card was. That tripped me out. He's like, I'm going to hold on to that for you. I was like, what? You know about the fuck it card too?
Right.
I'm like, hell yeah. All right. I'll let you hold on to this. And that's when something changed. I don't want to say for the better, because in the beginning of sobriety, that stuff is wicked hard.
Yeah.
It's probably the hardest thing I've ever committed to, followed through with, and continue to do on a daily.
So you said you got clean in Michigan earlier. So did you go to treatment or anything? Or did you really white knuckle sobriety just by going to meetings and having the mindset of I want to get sober?
So the first time I tried to get sober here in Michigan, I went to meetings and I got sober for 8 months. But all I was doing was going to meetings, sitting around, very angry, had a hoodie on the whole time, looking down at my feet because, you know, worthless over here, hating the world. And didn't get a sponsor, wasn't working steps, just going to meetings every day. That's what I did until I waited for it to get bad enough, and I turned in that fuck it card. And I said, I'm out. I'm gonna go try this out one more time. And I did for a whole year. I didn't take a sober breath.
Damn.
Because AA messed my drinking up. I had to drink twice as hard to get rid of some of that stuff that was in my head. Even though I wasn't participating, it was still in there.
Oh yeah, because people talk about their problems and
yeah.
it triggers your problems.
Yeah, and it was
And you're
there.
like, shit.
I was like, oh, fuck, dude, this drinking's kind of not fun right now, you know? And then I was like, well, I got to drink more to get rid of this. And I sure did. I took it to the limits. And yeah, it was about a full year. And I finally hit a point where I really had nothing left. No more lies, excuses. I was like losing a place to live, barely holding on to a job. I had so many bills. California bills were starting to catch up to me.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Oh, dude, it was wicked. It was so bad. And I mean, I had felonies trying to follow me from California to here. You know, like I was listening to your guys' podcast about that paycheck, right?
Oh yeah.
And I was laughing, you know, but it hit me because I started to remember, like, I used to go to my bank, get an envelope deposit, get the envelope deposit, lick it, put it into the ATM, put how much money was in there, and then my bank would allow me to pull some money out. But there was no money in that envelope.
Just
None.
because you deposited that envelope.
Just because I must have went to 12 banks that were mine. And then payday loans. And then, dude. It's so
rough.
bad. I didn't even know that was a felony offense. I was like, I'll pay it back. They're like, you stole from a bank. I'm like, what? No, I forgot to put the money check in there. They're like, that's stealing. You did it 12 times. Oh.
I just found a flaw in the system. Now they can fix it.
Right.
Right.
You know, I'm trying to help you guys out. That stuff started following me. I couldn't get a bank account anywhere. Couldn't, you know, I'm using Walmart Express BS. Load your card up because you can't cash a check at a bank like a normal person. You're hiding.
Oh, I know how that is.
cashing at pawn stock or pawn shops and shit. It was terrible.
I went through the
better.
same thing back. What was that? Last December, Mitch, when I actually took care of an old checking account that I had because I overdrafted it for the same reason. Oh, you're gonna give me $500 for free? Shoot, run
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm surprised they never came after me. And like 7 years later, I'm like, I think I really need a checking account. Like I'm tired of having a prepaid debit card. My choice was PayPal.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't want Cash App or nothing because I didn't want to associate with that because everyone's got Cash App and I'm just like whatever.
Yep.
He's a
I'll
cool
just-
kid.
Yeah,
Yep.
and so I went PayPal and finally I was like, no, I really want a checking account. And I remember calling my mom and asking her if she would pay it for me. I was like, well, when I come down this weekend, I'll just pay you for it. And she was like, and I was finally far enough along in my recovery where she actually trusted me to bring down the money to pay her.
Nice.
Like a few days later.
Nice.
I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do, Mom? Take a day off of work
Right.
to drive all the way down there to pay this?
Right.
Or trust them getting a money order that I just spent $502 on to send them?
Yeah.
Like, I don't trust that, Mom. Like, I really don't. Just please go pay this for me.
Yeah.
And she did. And it was a blessing that she would even trust me with that much money, to do something like that. Because 5 years ago, she would have been like, yeah, you're funny. I ain't paying that shit for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, when I started to get some trust back from family members, I didn't want it at first. Because I still had shame and guilt, and I was like, why are you trusting me with this money? You know that I've taken from you, you know that I've been sneaky, you know, stuff like that. But I had to learn, and I'm glad that I had the therapist that I did, because I had to learn that, it's a good thing.
Right.
And to welcome it, And it was difficult because that shame follows us. It really
Yeah.
does. A lot of places from California. you
Yeah.
know?
Right.
I mean, we, like I always tell newcomers, man, we kick our ass more than anybody on earth.
Yep, it's
There
that
is-
ass kicking machine.
there is
It's time to
nothing.
unplug that damn thing.
There is nothing anybody can say that's going to be like, oh, that's all you got, huh? But you should only know what's going on in my head. How about 2 rolls of quarters to turn this machine on? I'm going to stand here all day and kick my own ass. It's so bad. It's so terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And I've white knuckled it a lot in my sobriety in the beginning, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Between white knuckling it or going back out, I'll white knuckle it all day long.
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to me how long I want to white knuckle it for. Do I want to tell somebody what's going on? Do I want to share what's going on? Like really honestly share, like the truth, what's
Right.
going on. Do I want to say I'm not doing good here? I'm not doing good here. Be vulnerable and just tell somebody what's up. 'Cause
Right.
That's where the recovery begins.
Mm-hmm.
In my eyes, is being able to trust somebody enough, even if you don't know this person, because you're so afraid of going back out, destroying your life, you'd rather tell somebody exactly what's really going on with you, instead
Yeah.
of saying, "No, I'm okay.
Right.
No, I'm good."
And and it's also scary to be the newcomer in the meeting and to actually open up something that's truthful like that, because it's like nobody knows you in this meeting. If you do actually open up like that and you stand outside and you smoke a cigarette after the meeting or two, you're praying that someone will come up and talk to you after the meeting. And sometimes it happens and sometimes it don't.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, wow, like I really hope someone comes up to me tonight to talk to me.
And I wasn't a very happy person when I got to Alcoholics Anonymous. I was not. That laughter in the room, that killed me. I mean, it pissed me off more than anything. I was so angry. I'm like, you motherfuckers got no idea what I'm going through right now. And it
Right.
might seem like that, but the people in the room do know what you're going through.
Yeah.
It might look like they're having a good time. It might look like they got their stuff together, but they haven't forgotten where they came from. That's what got them there.
Yep. And I have met some really cool people after meetings and say, hey, you want to go grab dinner? You want to go grab a cup of coffee? Let's sit down and have a chat, and find out where you're really at. And those are the people that really know what AA and NA is all about in those 12-step programs.
Yeah.
And actually try to give back when it talks about giving back,
Yeah.
to actually do that for someone, because you don't know if they really got money for dinner. Be like, hey, let's go for dinner. I got it,
Yep.
and let's sit down and have a chat. And those are great times.
Yeah.
Those are probably some of the best dinners I've ever had in my life. It's hanging out with a bunch of people I don't know
Yep.
from a meeting,
Yep.
having dinner.
Yep.
You could be the blessing that person's looking for too, because like you said, maybe they don't have money for dinner
Right.
and they need to get a day, and you could be an answer to prayer in that way too.
Yep.
But yeah,
So, yeah, I mean, as a newcomer, I always try to introduce myself to somebody I don't know. If I know everybody at the meeting, cool. I'll say hi to people, but I always look out for that one person, guy or girl. Like, hey, welcome. Good to see you. Even if I don't know 'em.
Right.
Not being a smartass, not trying to get anything out of it. Really, it's really for me, because I'm kind of a shy guy. You wouldn't know it, but
No.
I'm kind of shy. I don't like really walking up to people. I'm like, hey, how you doing? I'm Jesse, and nice to see you. And I don't know how to do that small talk.
Right.
I'm still learning how to do that. Get comfortable with that. But
Sometimes
now,
I'm not very good at it either.
I just not. So I'm quiet, and my wife's like, you all right? You know her? I'm like, no, I don't know her, and I'm all right. But I just, I don't know what to say. So now I tried to like reach out. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Or, hey, first time? Oh, dope. Come on down. This is nothing. Coffee over here. Got this over here.
Right.
Because it is scary to go in somewhere, especially if you're lucky enough to walk in by yourself with no push.
Yeah.
No nothing. It was like your idea to come in. That's where like all programs need to be opening. I don't care
Yep.
what it is. NAAA, LGBTQ plus A, whatever it is. That's where everybody needs to just be like, hey, welcome.
Right.
Because people will leave. I've seen it.
Yep.
People will leave. They'll say, never again would I ever come here. Or, never again would I do this. And if I didn't feel welcomed or good enough or just okay to be in a meeting, I would have gone back out and used years ago.
Yeah.
Years ago. No questions about it. None.
I have a personal question for you. You can choose to answer or not.
Sure.
What do you think? What helped you work through that anger that you had? Because today I don't see an angry guy.
Sponsorship.
Nice.
I didn't realize my anger was because of fear. All my fears turn into anger, which turns into justifiable anger. So I was afraid of everything, anybody, people looking down on me, looking at me wrong, people I didn't know, people judging, me judging my own character because I knew inside that I was just a piece of trash, literally, and people could see me or see through me. I knew I wasn't a man of my word. I knew I was a liar, a cheater, a stealer, a thief. You just name it. I was those things. And it wasn't until I got a sponsor who could show me these things. I tried to fix myself a million times thinking myself well. It didn't work. It didn't work.
Now, do you go to therapy as well? Like have a therapist?
I've
during
been
this time?
I've been to counseling. I had a counselor for about a year, but I picked a counselor that was educated in addiction. That was important to me, so they could they understood it too. Not saying that therapists or counselors aren't good, but I wanted to make sure that whoever I decided had a background in that.
Right.
You
Well, normally when I meet people, like we give rides to people all the time, especially early in recovery where people that's been white knuckling it. I'm like, yeah, go to the meetings, go find a sponsor, but first and foremost, find a therapist you can relate to.
Yeah.
Because I feel when you're working through those steps, you're going to dredge up a bunch of stuff that all three of us in this room know from dealing with people in the program that we're not professionally designed enough to be able to help them through some of those problems.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because the thing is like once I start thinking I know what's best for somebody, I know I'm in trouble.
Yep.
Bottom line, because I don't have any room to tell somebody what they should do because I barely know how to manage my own life.
Right.
I'm a little better at it today, but I can tell you suggestions because I've done a lot of things in the program wrong, but stayed sober. And I've gotten through a lot of things in the program that were hurtful, but stayed sober.
Right.
And first was the hardest thing is that I'm just a human being. I'm going to make mistakes.
Yep.
That's one, I mean, still to this day, that's probably one of the hardest things to let go of is that I'm going to make mistakes and it's okay.
Yeah. And when we make mistakes, we learn.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for mistakes, we would never learn anything, even from being a baby all the way to growing up through life.
Yeah.
Those life mistakes, life lessons is what gave us the wisdom and the knowledge to know better.
Mm-hmm.
You got to stick your finger in the outlet at least once to know not to do it.
Yeah.
Right. With the fork.
Right. Right. Touch the stove. That's
Yeah.
hot. How hot is it really?
Yeah.
It's just the way we're wired. I mean, speaking for myself, I'm just wired that way. I don't mean to be that way. I'm not trying to, be cool or anything. It's just I got to learn the hard way sometimes. That's how it sticks.
I've had to learn the hard way my whole life.
And that's a suggestion that I don't recommend. Like, don't do it. Don't break the law.
Right.
I recommend you shouldn't do it. But if you're going to do it, good luck to you.
You know what? Lately, I've been listening to this T.I. song called The Dope Man.
Yeah.
And at the end of the song, he walks you through the whole life of being a dope
Yeah.
man, right? And at the end of it, he goes, you know what? I'm going to give you the whole story. He goes, there's only two ways out of this life, either in jail or a box.
That's it.
Please do not pick up this way of life.
Yeah.
Be smarter than that. You
Yeah.
know what? And my whole life, I always idolized that whole song
Yeah.
for a lot of years until I finally hit recovery. I'm like, man, I'm lucky I made it out.
Yeah.
Like, I really am, because that was my cup of tea, I was a drug addict, so I would go cop a bag and then try to sell most of it, and so that way I could do mine for free.
Oh, yeah.
And then just keep repeating the process, It was a sad fact of life, and I'm surprised it took me until I was 33 years old to finally get in enough trouble to be arrested.
That's when I got sober at 33.
That's what
Yeah.
I wanted to mention earlier when you mentioned coming back when you were 33. Is I'm seeing this not just between the three of us, but everybody has, especially men, have a life-altering event of some sort happen when they're 33.
Yeah.
And like Justin's, yours was you got in trouble when you were 33?
Right
Arrested?
around there. Yeah.
Right around there. You came back from California. I finally got into my recovery program that I got sober in when I was 33. So it's just like it's this ongoing thing that's happening in our generation area, and it's purposeful. Like there's something to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think too, it's until it's our idea, until we get beaten enough,
Yep.
we're not ready.
Yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of it has to do with maturity. And we're all grown men here, and we're all still pretty immature at times.
I mean, I'm grown now, but I mean,
But in reality, we don't really start to mature and really think about life until we're probably in our early to mid 30s.
well, like they said, when we started drinking and drugging, that's when we stopped maturing
Right.
mentally.
I talk about trauma a lot that way too. Well, I'll ask people when they're explaining it to me, and it's like when there's been a lot of people I've talked to, and myself in as well, is you'll have a traumatic event happen in your life, and starting drinking and drugging can be one of those. For me, it was issues with my father's health that put our family into a tailspin, and I lost a loved one in a car accident, and it's like that's when my maturity stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And then the only way to get through that was I had to get into counseling and start to dig into some of that things and start to talk about the feelings that I wasn't able to express back then and stuff like that. And then it was like, that's when all of a sudden the flower started to bloom.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it started to actually grow from it. And I was, between 33 and 34 years old when I was
Yeah.
able to do that.
Yep.
So,
I mean, it just takes what it takes. I mean, I wish I knew what
Yeah.
it took. I wish I could say, to me it looks like you've had enough, but it just doesn't seem to work that way.
No, and it's heartbreaking to watch
It's
people
devastating.
go in and out of the program
Devastating.
all the time.
It's devastating to see
Yeah.
a revolving door around Phoenix, Tekoski, Bear River. It's terrible. It's really quite heartbreaking to see.
Where even people coming in and out of the recovery community center that we work at, the RCO, it's watching people come back in after they've gone back out and be like, well, we're just thankful you're back,
yeah.
And I tell people all the time, don't quit quitting, because the time you quit quitting is the time you're done,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there's too many people out here that love and care about you for you to stop quitting.
Yeah. And they're the ones that I learn the most from. The ones that go back out. And usually when I ask, and it's not because I really care why they went out. It doesn't really matter, really.
Right.
I mean, shoelace could have broke, for God's sakes. I
Yeah.
don't care. I mean, that's a good reason.
Yep.
I mean, if I tripped and fell and embarrassed myself and I went back out, I could, that's my alcoholic mind.
Yeah.
For sure, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But when they say, well, I stopped going to meetings, I stopped hanging out with people who were in recovery, I stopped doing things in recovery in general, or I started working too much, life started getting hard, I still stayed away, and then I decided to go back out. I watched that even in my
Yep.
life today, because I got a disease that tells me I don't.
Yeah. And that was one topic I was just going to bring up, because you talk about all this stuff, but what happens when you have that good day, that really good day, and your brain tells you, you can handle it today.
Yeah.
Just go get a tall boy. You'll be all right.
Yep.
And then, that tall boy turns into a 6-pack a week later, and then it turns into a case, and then it starts turning into hard liquor at that point, and it's just a downward spiral. And, well, I thought I could handle it. And,
Yep.
well, no, we can't handle it. Our brain tricks us to tell us, yeah, you can handle it, because it wants you to keep in that vicious cycle.
Absolutely. I mean, even being sober today during the summer, looking at people on their boat, those beers are so big. They look so good.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that in reality, that doesn't work for me
No,
at all. There's no guesswork there. I know once I drink, dude, it's over.
yep.
And that's how scary it is for me. Like, I don't mess around with mocktails. I don't mess around with nothing.
Yeah.
I don't mess around with sodas. I go to a party, my soda's with me with a cap on it.
Right.
If I put my soda down and go to the John and come back, I'm not picking up my soda.
No.
That's how afraid I am to even get alcohol
Y-
in my body.
And that's one thing that really gets me, is you're starting to see it a lot more now in the recovery community, is people throwing these events and saying mocktails.
Yeah.
And it's like, are you really trying to trigger someone into a relapse?
Right,
Because, okay, yeah, that Bloody Mary is going to taste really good,
right.
as a mocktail, but it's going to trigger me to be like, well, I could go have a real bloody. I want a real one. I don't want this fake BS.
Right. Or life was not happy at the end when I was drinking.
Yeah.
There was nothing funny about it.
No, not
Nothing
at all.
at all. And I still remember that every day. I think God, higher power, whatever you want to call it, put that in my brain, seared it in there to know, like, you're going to remember this. You're going to know what it's like going through detox on your own and withdrawals. And I suffered. I mean, my dad locked me up in a room for like 12 days, boarded up the room. I could not leave.
Dang.
And it was awful. Nightmares, skin crawling, hot sweats, cold sweats. I mean, hallucinating. It was awful. But I needed to go through that
Yep.
for me. And I needed to remember that for me. I'm not saying do that by any goddamn means.
It's dangerous.
No,
but
yeah.
I mean,
It's highly
you
dangerous.
could die.
Yeah.
But for me, it's what I had to do for me.
Right.
And that still sticks with me. Because there was no I was not comfortable for like 12 days.
Right.
And then even longer, I was not comfortable at all.
I can remember right before I got arrested, I was actually living in a camper. It was wintertime, and I was out stealing propane tanks off the summer campers that was around in the woods, and like just going up grabbing one because I needed to stay warm. It was cold out. I was already wearing winter clothes and cuddled up underneath blankets. It was drafty, you know, and but that's where I was at, you know, and I remember that, and I'm thankful for everything I have today: a roof over my head, a job that actually pays me, you know, and it doesn't matter if you have an entry level job like at a gas station,
No.
it still pays the bills. And, you know, and there's this thing that I was raised, you know, never live outside your means of any means necessary, you know, like there's plenty of options out there for cheaper phone service, you know, if that's what you
Yeah.
need, that's what you get, you know. You may not need internet at your house, you know, if you have a cell phone bill, like you just don't need it at first.
Yeah. I mean, at first, it isn't sexy.
No,
It just isn't.
no,
It's not sexy.
No.
You know, it's Boost Mobile,
Yep.
and maybe you get some internet. If you're lucky, you set it by the windowsill.
Right.
It's just not. It's not sexy.
No.
None of it is.
And you're probably gonna be driving a beater with a heater.
Yeah.
That no chick's ever gonna want to get into because they're like,
Right.
is this thing even gonna make it from here to the meeting?
Right. Like, I know you smell gasoline. It's cool. I haven't caught on fire yet.
Right.
Good. You know.
Just
But-
don't throw that cigarette butt
Right,
out the window.
don't. We don't smoke in here though. Just in case.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's real. That's real stuff.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
And I only got one caliper that works out of 4.
Oh yeah. Yeah. What's that noise? It goes away after a little bit.
After it heats up.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
But those are the things we put ourselves through, you
Yeah.
know, but you know, we also hit that point where the promises really take effect.
Yes.
After we've put in the hard work and
Yes.
the dedication to ourselves,
Yes.
where material things do start happening for us. And at some point in our life, when they do start happening for us, they're like, I didn't do nothing to deserve this. Why is this happening to me? This is too good to be true. It's a setup. It's a trap. I'm going to trap myself because I'm going to go take this. And next thing I know, I'm ass out again.
Right.
Because that's what we're used to, being in active addiction. But in reality, how much of those setups do we create ourselves
All of them.
by using?
All of them.
Right.
I knew exactly. I knew exactly when I was going.
Yeah.
So did everybody else. Really. I thought I was just slick about it. I wasn't.
No.
Everybody
None of
knew.
us were.
Look at this guy getting his stuff all ready to go. We ain't gonna see him for like a month.
Yep.
So
I have another question for you, Jesse, because
Yeah.
you mentioned we just talked about a lot of stuff that we were all relating to. One of the things you mentioned that I relate to pretty heavily, and I think listeners will. You mentioned the nightmares.
yeah.
How long did that last for you? It's 8 years ago was a long time, so I understand.
In the beginning, it seemed to be all the time because I wasn't passing out. I was sleeping,
Right.
which there's a difference. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, I've been there.
So different levels of sleep, different things happen in that body, you know? So
Yep.
I was always used to like lights out and that was it. But then I'd have a lot of relapse dreams or I'd have a lot of things that happened in the past that would come up. Like people I used to party with that are dead now that I was there with, or all those things would all keep happening. But what I think for me, what it was is just pushing it down for so long that it was starting to come to the surface. But thank God for a sponsor. I can't say it enough, man. I had to call my sponsor up.
Right.
Dude, I just thought about drinking, and I swear, dude, I woke up and I thought I was drinking.
Yeah.
You asked my wife, there was one time I woke up and I thought I was drinking. I was in the trash can looking for the bottle. I went everywhere I was like in the tub, and then went downstairs, and my wife's like, "What are you doing, honey?" I'm like, "I drank. I'm so sorry." And she's like, "No, honey, you've been laying here the whole night. You're okay. You didn't drink." But I swear to God, I did.
Yep.
I still have dreams like that today, being
Oof.
4.5 years sober,
Yeah.
and clean. Like,
And
I still have those dreams, waking up, wondering, going checking my nose, make sure I don't got white rings
Yeah.
around them and stuff like, like, okay, what did that really happen last night? And I just don't remember it because it was so vivid, you know. And it's
they're
like,
never good. They're
No.
never good dreams.
No.
no,
I'll tell you that. They're never like, "Oh man, that was the greatest party ever out on the pontoon." It's never like that. They're miserable.
Yeah.
They're nightmare dreams.
especially after being in recovery for as long as
Oh,
I have.
they're
It's
awful.
like I don't ever want to go back to that lifestyle.
No.
Like, what is wrong with me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I asked that because mine were almost 1.5 years, I think.
Sure.
Yeah, and just like you said, constantly, every time you shut your eyes. And they were all, for me, they were all relapse dreams. And I did exactly what you did so many times.
Oh yeah.
I woke up and started looking for a bottle.
Yeah.
I'm like, where is it?
Yeah.
And I was a bottle hider when
Yeah.
I was drinking. So, after being sober for a while, I was still finding bottles or those little caps that they put on there
Oh,
to
yeah.
like restrict the flow.
Oh yeah.
I was finding those for like a year in just
Yeah.
random places in the bottom of my backpack
Oh,
and
yeah.
the corner behind a bookshelf and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I'd wake up and just be like, where is it?
Yeah.
Look under my bed, look under my pillow, look
Yeah.
behind the shelf, all the old spots.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was killer. That's stuff I don't like because I've been asked by people in early recovery,
Sure.
how long are these dreams going to last? And in my head, I'm like, I can't do it. I got to be honest with this guy, but I don't want to tell him that I had the exact same relapse dream for 1.5 years straight.
Yeah.
I'm honest to the point with them. I'm like, dude, I'm 4.5 years sober, and I still have them,
Yeah.
and they don't ever go away. How we deal with them, and we get up, we talk about it with someone, and just reassure ourselves that was a dream, and that's to remind us of where we don't want to go again.
And sometimes they're just healthy reminders like, I need to get my ass to a little more meetings.
Right.
That simple.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or I need to check in with my sponsor a little more than I have been. Usually that's what it is.
Yep.
And when I stay doing that and helping others, I don't really ever seem to have those reoccurring nightmares, if you will.
Yeah.
They kind of, I have to say, my higher power did a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I did not believe in a God when I got here. I wrote that motherfucker off. Excuse my language. I wrote him off.
Right.
A long time ago. I didn't feel like I was worthy, for one.
Yeah.
Like, what? This dude got time for me? Yeah, right. You know what I mean? Like, never helped me before.
Right. Exactly.
Never been there when I needed him. I just needed to get out of this cop car one time. Nobody helped me.
Right.
So I wrote him off a long time ago. That dude was he wasn't even a thought of. And getting sober and being willing to listen to what other people had to say I started to form my own higher power, my own God, what I would want this thing to be. And once I was able to do that, that's when things really, really seemed to take off.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying, you can't be atheist. I'm not saying you can't be Jehovah Witness. I'm not saying you can't be,
Muslim,
Buddhism when you're
Right.
here. It's, do you want to be a drunk or an addict, or do you want to be a sober Buddhist, Jehovah's Witness, Catholic? What, you choose. It's like we can sober up a horse thief, but we can't stop the horse thief from stealing horses.
No.
I use that analogy a lot.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
You're still a horse thief.
Yep.
And I could get on that. I could get on that. I could. My sponsor's real good at breaking things down to me at a real child level, if you will, which I need.
Yep.
And I need straight, no BS to the point. What are they saying? Not what you think they're saying. Not what you think it interprets. What it's saying. Exactly what is this sentence telling me?
Right.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I'm that way too.
I don't sugarcoat nothing for no
No.
one. I'm like, I could sit here and try to polish a turd free, but it's still a turd at the end of the
That's
day.
it.
It's like I tell people all the time. I'll call a spade
I was
quick.
about to say, if I had a nickel for every time he said the spade thing.
Yeah.
It's true, though.
Yeah, and newcomers might think it's mean. They might think it's not nice. It's harsh. We're being bullies.
Yeah.
It's not. It's, for me, I'm so afraid for you
Yep.
because of this motherfucking disease that I want to touch you any way I can mentally, so you know what I see. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like,
You have to make the mentally distinction with Justin sometimes.
we can't do it alone.
Nope.
We can't think it better. And it's got to be our decision.
Yeah. It's like I witnessed this too, and I thought it was really mean at the time, but it really wasn't. And this old timer, someone got done sharing or something, and he was like, "That's BS," and laid $5 on the table. He's like, "I'll buy your first drink. You're not ready yet."
Yep.
And he was like, I was like, "Man, that's freaking harsh. Like, we're in a meeting right now," and he's like, "You're not ready. You're doing this all for the wrong reasons."
Yeah.
And you really have to do it for yourself. You can't do it for your kids, your parents,
No.
anybody. You have to learn how to do it for yourself.
Yep. Because
And-
you'll fail every time.
Yep. And I think that's what his point was.
Mm-hmm.
Because I asked my sponsor after that, I'm like, "Dude, I seen this." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "The guy wasn't doing it for the right reasons. He came in talking a bunch of BS that I'm doing it for my kids, I'm doing it for my wife, and he didn't realize that you have to do it for yourself and for your own self-happiness and to learn how to love yourself again.
Yep.
Because we will never give anyone proper love if we don't know how to love ourselves."
Nope. Nope. Because if we're not sober, we're going to lose it all anyways.
Yeah.
That's
Wife,
it.
kid, boats, cars, houses.
Yeah.
We'll give all that shit away anyways.
Yeah.
So-
And I tell everybody all the time, I'm like, when I found methamphetamine, like, it took a hold of me. And as soon as I found that syringe, I didn't realize what could fit in that damn thing.
Oh, yeah.
And those things are pretty small.
Yeah.
They're 50 milliliters.
right.
And you can fit everything in that son of a bitch.
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't realize it. When they show the pictures of the house, the cars, the kids,
Oh, yeah.
the women, where the
Yep.
men going into motherfuckers.
Yep.
It's real shit because you're gonna lose everything.
Everything.
Yep.
And I never realized that. I'm like, that ain't me.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the first time I got caught with the syringe. I told them, because I was an avid fisherman at that point in time, I'm like, yeah, I inject my plastic baits with air bubbles, so that way they float and they're suspended in the water more. And I'm like, that shit sounded really good,
Yeah.
but I was really bullshitting everybody and just didn't want to be honest.
Hey, I would have believed you.
Yeah.
That's how good we are.
Yeah, I know. I was
I believe
just
you
like-
right now. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, make it a little fatter, a little sweet. Yeah, I would have bit that bait.
Yeah,
yeah. I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
I came up with some off the wall excuses for
With the
everything
quickness too.
Yeah.
I know. I love that. I love that shit more than anything.
Well, that brings to the point too, as something I shared with somebody today, is if we work as hard and are as crafty with our recovery as we were with the using, like we can do it. You know,
We can almost do anything,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
Because we put our minds to figuring out waking up with absolutely nothing
Right.
and getting tore up all day off of nothing. If we only did that in our recovery, imagine how much stuff we could have.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you hear the excuse a lot with like the people who aren't ready yet, and it's, well, I didn't have a ride to a meeting, or I couldn't get to a meeting, or I couldn't, and that's something that I've heard a couple times, and it's like, you had a ride or figured out a way to get to the dope man's house.
Yeah, you walk 5 miles to get to the dope man's house. You can't walk a mile for the meeting.
Yeah,
Yep.
You know, and I heard this from a friend last night too, because she was talking with her sponsor about the meeting this morning that happened, the NA meeting that serves breakfast here in Traverse City. She was like, "Well, I'll see you at the meeting tomorrow." Well, I don't know. That's across town, and I live on the east side. And then I
Yeah.
got to drive to the far east side to go to work in the
Yeah.
morning. And she was like, "Well, if there's a Viking Inn on the west side of town, your ass would be over there picking it up before you went to work."
Hell yeah.
And her sponsor was like, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
She goes, "I'll see you in the morning."
Yeah.
yep,
It is true. And, you know, as much as we say get a sponsor, we keep our sponsors in check just as
Yeah.
much as they keep us in check, because we'll start calling them out on their
Yeah.
BS.
Absolutely.
it's a web of, you know, connections.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's what they say is the opposite of addiction is connection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
All right. Anything else, guys?
It's just been an honor to be here. I appreciate
Yeah.
being a guest.
I appreciate you being on here, Jesse. Maybe we'll have you on more often.
All right. You let me know.
I mean, you're only right down the road with nothing to do.
With nothing to
Nothing to
do.
do.
I know. It gets you out of your shell.
That's right. That's right.
All right.
Well, I do appreciate you being on here, Jesse, because usually it's just me and him, and I'm asking him dumb questions. You've heard, so
Absolutely.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
no,
He
I
starts
appreciate
out with dumb questions like, "Oh, okay. Here's probably the best dumb question Mitch has ever answered me.
Asked you?
Asked me and answered himself. So, if you had a step relation that wasn't blood relation, would you smash?
Nope.
No,
No.
no.
Mm-mm.
Why not?
Nope.
It's just
No.
yeah. I said the same thing.
No.
You want to ask Mitch what he said? He's over here beat.
I've been
just as
to
red as your shirt.
Manton. I've been to Mesick. I know what that stuff does to people, man. Your Doritos and Mountain Dews, you ain't fooling nobody. I see it. It's the eyes that give it away. It's too close. It's too close.
That's what I said.
That's all it is. It's too close. But hey, you do you.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm all about whoever, whatever. It's cool. I don't man. You want a family tree or a reef? It don't matter. That's just my take.
That was kind of my take on
this is
it.
why we need you on more, because that was way better than the talk we had.
That's all I'm saying.
Mitch said he would smash.
Okay.
I see it as a piece of paper in between the parents.
Hey, and I still respect you.
And
So you do you.
Well, I never
just
did
know-
it, but I
know-
just
hey,
that's
you know what I mean? I just know where I'm at. You know what I mean?
if there was a little blood in there, like that's a hard no for me. But just a piece of paper.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still going to be a no for me.
Yeah,
That's
it's
right.
still too
I
close to
get it.
home.
Yeah. And people talk.
Literally.
We live
Yeah.
in Michigan. We ain't got nothing to do but talk.
Right. It ain't West Virginia. We're Kentucky,
No.
brother.
Mm-mm.
We're Arkansas.
Right. We ain't going to fit in.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I feel that.
Right.
And one other thing I want to say, if anybody listening to this and they just struggling, I mean, just struggling, walk into 217. Just say, what's up? Ask to speak to somebody. Say, hey, man, you got a meeting? Hey, I got some questions. Anything. These guys and gals that work here are phenomenal. Don't be afraid. Maybe you're afraid to ask something in a meeting. You got no idea what it means. Come in here. We help you out. If we don't know the answer, we'll get the answer.
Yeah, and all the meetings at 217 Recovery here in Traverse City are all open discussion meetings.
Beautiful.
So if you come in and you speak what's on your mind,
Beautiful.
you're going to get feedback in that meeting
Beautiful.
of other people's wisdoms and life lessons
Beautiful.
that they've learned, their experience.
Well, if you're just dipping your toe in to see if it's something that you want to, like the newcomer situation, you don't have to talk.
Yep.
Just
Yeah.
come and be around other people in recovery. It's totally fine. But at 217 Recovery, we are what's considered a drop-in point. So you can come here, ask questions. If you need somebody to talk to for a little bit, it's totally fine. If you want to know where to get a bus pass, I can hook you up. You know, it's resources and just stuff like that. Like, just, especially if you're struggling,
Absolutely.
just come say hi.
Absolutely.
Yep.
That's it. Thank you. That was
Absolutely.
good.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Later.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the White Knuckling It podcast. For more details on the show and for more episodes, log on to whiteknucklingit.com.